This is Grace Notes. I'm Alan Button, and pleased to have as our guest in the studio today, Leon Jackson. Leon is, well, there are a lot of things we could say about Leon. To at least get started, we'll let our audience know, Leon, that you are the founder and executive director of an organization called Project Point 5, which we'll talk about shortly. But Leon is also a 22-year Army veteran, and with Veterans Day this weekend, we thought it might be appropriate to have Leon in to talk with us. So, Leon, welcome.
Thank you, Alan, for this opportunity.
We're really pleased to have you here. And Leon, if you would, let's start by getting a little biographical information. Tell us where you came from and how you got to where you are.
Okay, well,
at least the first 17 or 18 years to start.
All right, that's simple, if I can remember correctly. I'm originally from the great state of Louisiana. I grew up on a plantation, hard work, enjoyed it, learned a lot about respect. My great aunt raised me from age 6 months to 18 when I decided to say, you know what, it's time for me to leave the nest. She laid the foundation for me from that early stage in my life, which I believe I contributed that a lot to where I am now, the stuff that she invested into me.
What was her name?
Her name was Rosie Williams.
Uh-huh. Tell us a little bit more about the circumstances of your housing and family and such, because I understand it was, at least from the perspective of a lot of people, would be described as pretty tough circumstances.
Yeah. We joke about it, said, I didn't know I was poor until I left my home. Everyone was in the same scenario. We lived on a large amount of land that was owned by a plantation owner that was passed down through generations. So one of the requirements were that if you lived there, you didn't pay rent, but you worked. So that started at age 12, 13, and I did that all the way through high school, which was good. We did not have running water. Our water came from a well. So when it rained and we put the well bucket down in the well, we pulled it up, it was muddy. So we had to wait till all the sediments go to the bottom of it, and then we had cool water. It was always cool. Everything that we ate, unlike it is now where you can DoorDash, we raised it. We raised a garden, which included a lot of vegetables and also our meat. And we had a village. There's one thing good about it. Being in that type of environment, you had to survive. It was about survival.
What did you do? What happened when you were 17?
When I was 17, that's when I had to make some decisions. Came to the point in my life to say, you know what, this is good, but I want something better. And by doing that, a recruiter came to Clinton High School. They threw all this beautiful stuff on this presentation. You can do this. You can do this. Be all you can be. That should be our slogan, be all you can be. Uh-huh. So I took that up. I said, okay, I'm going to be all what I can be. So I told my mother I was thinking about joining the military. She said she wasn't too happy about it. I said, okay, no problem. So, I actually signed the paperwork. So I signed the late entry program paperwork November the 15th, 1980, and that sealed the deal.
I understand that the plantation owner's son had some influence.
Yes. We were going to pick up a piece of equipment. And I said, you know what? His name was Tom. I said, I'm thinking about joining the military. He said, you know what? That would be a good idea because there is so many more things you can do. And he encouraged me. And I said, okay, he gave me the green light. I wasn't expecting to get that type of response. But apparently he saw something in me that I didn't see in myself. Because when someone else can say that, it gives you a different lens to view yourself. And that gave me the motivation.
You had you grew up in, it sounds like sort of a sharecropper environment, yes. Arrangement. Mm-hmm. And I gather that your background ties in some respect with Project Point 5. Is that fair?
Absolutely correct.
Tell us, I want to talk with you about Project Point 5 here in a few minutes, okay. But this first song that you've selected, that I think probably is a pretty good lead-in to that. Tell us about that song, Help Me. Why that song?
That song came about, well, we were doing a facilitation with some guys that we was working with. And one of my facilitators said, look, I got this song I want you to listen to. This is what we do. I said, okay. So we listened to it, and I said, wow, this is exactly what we do. I can relate to this song. This song, I was once there. I needed someone to help me. And people were put around me to help me. I had the responsibility to accept that help. And I chose, most of it I did, at least about 65%. Rest of it, I said, nah, not for me. And that's what made it so unique. So that song was me. It was me. Because someone reached down, they extended their hand to help me get up. That's from my mentors. That's from the plantation owner. That's from my elementary school teachers. That's from my mama that raised me, all the way up to where I am now, including my mentor now.
And I see, looking at the lyrics of the song, that it pretty much extends across the spectrum of humanity as to those people who need help.
Yes.
We all fit in that category at one time or another.
Very true. Very true. At times we tend to look at people and make a judgment call, said, that person's good. That person has this. That person has that. That's from the outside. But what's really going on the inside? That's what sometimes we overlook. And if you read someone's body language, you can tell when something is just, it's not right. And it's, I believe, as a human being, my job is to, if I see that, if I can recognize it, I tend to address it. Because people don't care how much you know. They want to know how much you care.
Let's hear it. Help Me by Court Chavis.
I'm the man on the street holding a sign. I know what it says, but look in my eyes.
That was Help Me by Court Chavis. If you're just joining us, our guest today is Leon Jackson. Leon is the founder and executive director of an organization called Project Point 5. Leon also has a degree from Grand Canyon University in substance abuse, focusing on addiction and codependency and such. And that ties into some of what he's done since his time in the military and what he's about now. But Leon, you mentioned in our first segment the influence of mentors in your life, and I gather that that too has some significant part in Project Point 5. Tell us about Project Point 5. What is it? How did it get started?
Project Point 5 is a nonprofit grassroots organization designed to assist and aid marginalized men. The individual is Point 5. Our organization is the other Point 5 that believes in renovation, restoration, establish a firm foundation through stability, character, and knowledge. We get together, we marry together for a period of time, and by the time the individual comes in, if they decide to be committed to the principles that we have, they leave out much better. We want to reduce some of the stigma of what society says that men should be. We want to equip them to be better men, because no one knows a man better than a man. And if a man has encountered some challenges, what better person to be able to mentor than another man that has overcame those same challenges? So with Project Point 5, that's what we thrive to do. We work with young males. We work with justice involved and also veterans. We want to give them the tools that they need to navigate through life a much better way, because life is a maze. And if you don't have the correct tools, so we equip them to identify those directions on which way to go through small goals, obtainable goals. And that's what's so unique about it. All our volunteers are, again, we go back to veterans. They are males. They have accomplished many great things in their lives, and they're still doing it. And they are great role models. They're fathers. So they understand what our young people are dealing with. Because if you can get a man to state what they need, and that is provided, not only does the man benefit, also the entire family benefits as well. The community changes. The community is much more safer. We have tax-paying citizens. We have children observing their fathers, going to work, coming back home, spending time with them. Because I notice that most men, we focus on making a living, but we fail to make a life for our families. Project Point 5, we're just role models, and we are men that are excited to help men. And it started out just by helping offenders get reintegrated into community, because everyone needs someone to be a cheerleader for them.
And I take it the 0.5 then, that is, we're talking decimals here, right?
Yes, sir.
0.5, half.
Half. That's
and
a good point.
You take the two halves, put them together in an effort to make one, to make a unity.
Yes. To make that whole.
If people are interested in getting more information about Project 0.5, where do they go? What should they do?
Oh, too easy. Most everyone's on Facebook, so we can be found on Facebook at Project 0.5. Everything is spelled out. There's no numbers, no decimals, just all words. We are currently located at 225 South Steele Street in Sanford, North Carolina, on the second floor. You can email us at info@project.5.org, and we will get back with you, schedule an appointment, come in, see how can we assist you.
Give us that email address again.
info@project.5.org.
Are you looking for volunteer mentor types?
Yes, we're looking for mentors. We're looking for youth. We are in search of the dying resource called humanity to grow and expand. We have been doing this since 2009. We took a break from 2013 to 2020, and I just got this itch. We need to get back into the community. So we came back to the community, but this time we want to focus on our youth.
We being, I take it your wife had something to do with this.
Well, she was a very large part of it, because she understands me better than almost anyone, and she knows what I'm passionate about. So she said, you know what, let's go for it. It was good when you was working with the adults. Now you see what's going on within the schools, within the families. Let's look at regrouping and working with our younger adolescents to get them to a much better position. I had one incident that we didn't share earlier. I went to a court hearing and I saw this young man. He was 15 years old and he was shackled, fully shackled. The judge pronounced a sentence, and this young man could not even hug his parents because of the decision that he made. So we want to be able to step in to assist the family to help that child transition and change their trajectory in life.
And you have some background in substance abuse counseling.
Yes.
Tell us about that.
Oh, wow. This is definitely different. Prior to me obtaining my credentials as a substance abuse counselor or a certified alcohol and drug counselor, I didn't understand it. The book said one thing, but until you actually come involved face to face with an individual and they're going through withdrawals, they just shot up with heroin, they just took some fentanyl, it's a different animal. I'm under the premises of this. I know most people may not agree with me. The reason that people do substances is because something occurred prior to that triggered this. Most people have encountered adverse childhood experiences. They never talked about them. They never talk about losing a significant person due to death. They never talk about it. They would walk around and they bottle it up. They suppress it until I can no longer suppress it. Now I need to find something to help me get over and get by. So now I've turned to substances. I need that because drugs, they don't judge you. They don't say anything. They just get into your body and they impact your brain, your cognitive behavior. What I do now, it has been very enlightening and I have enjoyed it. It's been very refreshing. I tell all my patients, I've learned more from you than you ever could know.
Leon, I'm going to pick up on something that you said and use that as a segue to another song here. You talked about losing a significant person due to death. And I know from having talked to you before we came into the studio that your experience in the military and as a veteran are things that inform your focus and priorities, and that this song has something to do with that. And I want to, as I said earlier, with Veterans Day this weekend, I want to hear more about your military experience and your perspective there.
Okay.
So we'll come to that. Tell us about this next song, Angel Flight. Why that song?
That song is very moving for me. After being deployed several times, and whenever you have to load up one of your colleagues on an aircraft a C-130 aircraft with a flag-draped coffin, it changes your mindset. You never think that it could happen. But when you go through the motions of it and this becomes a reality, it makes you think. And after you load that body up, that C-130 aircraft travels all the way from time, I use example, in Bayab, Baghdad International Airport. By the time that you load that fallen service member's body, that body is transported to other carriers. And that's why Angel Flight hits me, because one of my close friends, Master Sergeant Jamal Bowers, someone loaded him up, and Lieutenant Anthony Quinn escorted him from Kuwait all the way back to the States. And so when I think about that song, I think about my fallen brothers and sisters that have taken that flight, and some pilots that, regardless of the time, the location, they are transporting my brothers or my sisters back to their homes. And that's why that song impressed upon me the sacrifice that our veterans, our service members, have sacrificed.
Let's hear it. Angel Flight by Radney Foster. That was Angel Flight by Radney Foster. Leon, speaking of Veterans Day, if you would, give us a little summary of your own military experience.
Oh, well, Alan.
I guess we picked up or left off earlier with your enlistment at the age of 17. Yeah, take it from there.
Yep. I had no idea what I was getting myself in when I took my first step on Fort Leonard Wood, Missouri's property. It was frightening, but it was exciting. That was directly after high school completion, and it was great. I will say it like that. And what makes it so good was this: I was not the only one there that was afraid, that was excited, that was anxious. They had about 300 of us from all different parts of the world. So they made teamwork a reality very soon. I wouldn't trade it for the world. I can say one thing about the military: we suffered together, we cried together, we achieved together. So it was a family. I believe that's what makes veterans so close, regardless of the branch of service. We share commonalities. For me, it was the best thing that ever could happen to me. If I would have remained in Louisiana, I don't know where I would have been. This opened up so many doors. They gave me free travel. I couldn't pick where I wanted to go. They picked for me. But it was free airfare, free dental, free medical for myself, my wife. The military was good to us. It was really good to us. So I didn't understand what it meant while I was in, because it was a job. It wasn't just a regular 8 to 5 job. It was a 24/7 job, because you could get that call at any time. Hey, pack your bags, be at this location, we going somewhere. And being with the Mighty 82nd Airborne Division, we never knew where we were going.
Where were you stationed?
Oh, my goodness. Alan, you could ask me anything that was easier, but this is complicated. I did 3 tours in Europe. First tour was in Vilflicken. Second tour was in Bamberg. The last tour was in Kitzken, and then Schweinfurt. I did time at Fort Devens, Massachusetts. I also did time at Fort Hood, Texas, Fort Carson, Colorado. I did training overseas. Been around.
Your role was, at least during part of that time, combat engineer.
All the time. I did not get a break.
Uh-huh.
I was a straight knuckle dragger, doing demolitions, exiting perfect good aircraft. I still don't know why I did that.
Exiting perfectly good aircraft.
Yes,
You mean
yes.
Jumping out.
Yes, 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 yes.
Well, speaking of Fort Devens, Massachusetts, I understand that has an especially significant
Yes.
part of your life.
Yes. I lost my card. I lost my single card, my player's card, as we call it sometimes. I met my wife there in Manchester, New Hampshire. And that was one of the most significant events that occurred in my life, besides being born and knowing God as my Savior. She was my saving grace for a lot. She taught me a lot. She taught me things that I was not aware of. And at the same time, we always go back to mentorship with Project Point 5. During that transition of a newlywed being in a country 8 hours away, she couldn't walk home unless she could walk on water. We didn't have money to pay for a flight to come back, so we had to endure those 3 years of getting to know each other. We had great mentors that assisted us, that provided us the guidance, not through a lot of lip service, but through their role model, how they presented themselves, how I saw my mentor engage with his wife. I said, okay, man, if that works for them, I could use some of those tactics on my wife. And it did work. So I can always trace it back to mentorship. No matter what I've done, I've been involved in, I have always had the right people at the right time in my life.
Your wife's name is what?
My wife's name is Nancy Ann Jackson.
And you've been married how long?
We just celebrated 39 years on November the 3rd.
Ah, congratulations.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
Well, Leon, to wrap things up, tell us about your perspective on Veterans Day, and maybe tell us something about what you think those of us who did not serve in the military should think.
I have two thoughts on that. Veterans know veterans, and we know how to interact. But however, for the ones that did not serve, it's understandable, because I tell people, I said, everyone didn't make that decision, and I don't fault them for it. I made that decision. Other people made that decision. I would tell them to just be patient with us. For me, you don't have to say thank you for your service. You don't. Really, you don't. I appreciate it, but it's not a requirement. Just on those special times, just go out and support. Just support what's going on. Go to the community. As a matter of fact, in Broadway at 11 o'clock, this Saturday, we're going to have a Veterans Day ceremony. So I would encourage Lee County residents to come out and just show your support. And I will say this, if you don't mind, not only did the veterans sacrifice, we forget about our spouses and our children, because we were the ones that had to leave them. We had to abandon the nest for X amount of months or even years to go and do something that we decided that we was going to do. So I want to say thank you to all the military spouses and the family members that supported us. So what can you do for me? Just honor the flag.
And you told me earlier, before we got started in front of the mics, you told me about being willing to serve.
Yes. Yes. I would encourage every person, be willing to serve, be willing to give back, and don't expect anything in return. You want to show your community, your country, the world, how important things are, give back. Don't look for anything in return. Help someone. Rake somebody's leaves. Simple as this. Good morning. Have a great day. Have a good day. Help someone cross a crosswalk. Be more human, because our society has definitely changed now. So I'm asking, almost begging, be nice to someone. Do something good for someone. That's what service is.
I think we need to leave it there, Leon.
Yes.
Great final words. Just tell us about this last song, and we'll close with that. The Best in Me by Marvin Sapp. Why that song?
That song lets me know that God saw the best in me. Even when I was doing things that were not the best things, he still saw the best in me. And through that, he allowed people to see the best in me, which allowed me to be who I am today. So I'm asking, please see the best in people. Yes, you have to go deep with some, but see the best in them. And again, that goes back to being nice to someone. Give them a nice word.
Thank you, Leon, for taking the time to be with us. It's been a privilege to talk with you.
Thank you, Alan.
Let's hear it. The Best in Me by Marvin Sapp.
He saw the best in me when everyone else around